Hi, I'm Allie, a senior artist for Sephora in Kansas City, and this is my Saturday night kind of like go-to look. Really loving right now, and the reason this is a go-to for me is I love mermaid, unicorn, sparkly, glittery things, and I'm really into anything that's holographic or iridescent, but I also really like pinks and fuchsias, and so this is kind of an updated take on a smoky eye with a nude lip. So stay tuned and I will show you how to get this look. All right, so I'm starting off with a totally blank canvas and fresh face, but let's get started. So I'm going to start by grabbing the Caudalie, the Energizing and Smoothing Eye Cream, the Vine Active. And I'm just putting a little bit on my ring finger, and I'm going to warm it up a little bit in between my two ring fingers. You want to use the ring finger because it has the lightest amount of pressure. And I'm just going to press it around my brow bone and right under my eyes. I'm also using a little bit around my lips and my mouth. Next, what I'm going to use is the Perricone H2 Elemental Energy Hydrating Cloud Cream. I'm obsessed with this moisturizer. It's a newer one, but I love it because it's really lightweight and it helps to hydrate your skin, but it doesn't make it impossible to put makeup on top of because it's not so rich that it takes a long time to melt into your skin. So I'm just going to take a little bit, and I use the back of a brush just because I'm really acne prone and I don't like to put my fingers inside of the product. It just helps to prevent any bacteria from getting inside of the container. And I'm just lightly working this in all over my face, down through my neck as well. Next, I'm going to use the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Mist, and it's the Marine Boosting Mist. I love this stuff because it smells amazing, and I actually like to do this before and after makeup because I feel like it helps to prep my skin more effectively and it helps it to stay on a little bit longer. Next, I'm going to take the Peter Thomas Roth 24 Karat Gold Pure Luxury Lift and Firm Prism Cream. I am obsessed with this. I love the packaging. I love all things glittery and sparkly. And I just took a little bit of this, about a pea-sized amount, onto my fingertips and warmed it up. And I'm just going to apply this to high points in my face. This creates a really beautiful lit from within kind of glow through the makeup. And since the foundation I'm going to use is a little bit fuller coverage and a little bit more matte, it creates a nice amount of dimension. So I'm putting this on my cheekbones, the bridge of my nose, a little bit on my Cupid's bow, and just a little bit through the center of my forehead. Next, I'm taking Kat Von D's Lock-It Foundation in the shade Light 45, and I'm just taking one pump in the palm of my hand. So next, I'm going to take the Cover FX Custom Infusion Drops in C Plus Lemongrass Radiance Drops. I love to mix this with Kat Von D, so I just take about 1 or 2 drops of the serum and I mix it into the foundation with my Sephora Collection Pro Flawless Airbrush number 56. This has really changed my foundation game because I really like coverage, but a lot of times things with more coverage tend to be matte or show more texture, and that's definitely not what you want with a full coverage foundation. You still want to look like it's you and like you have natural skin. So I'm just taking a drop or two and I'm mixing it in with that Kat Von D, and it's going to give it a more radiant and lit from within finish, but it's not going to compromise the wear or the amount of coverage I get. So I get the best of both worlds, and it's awesome. The reason I took this brush and selected this one to apply the foundation is that I can really sweep and shear out the foundation where I don't need as much coverage, but where I have some acne scarring and some redness, I can take the brush and start to tap and stipple to build. This tool is fantastic for that exact reason. You can really alter and shift the coverage of your foundation depending on what you want and just depending on how you move your brush. The other thing I like to do once I'm completely finished with my face is with whatever foundation is left in my tool or in my brush, I like to pull down through my neck, just because foundation shouldn't stop at your jawline. It should stop down with the body, and that helps you avoid the floating head. So next I'm going to go into my brows. So I'm taking a little bit of Anastasia brow powder, and I'm using the shade medium brown because I like my brows a little spicy and a little bit bolder. And I'm using the Sephora Collection Pro Brow number 20. This is a great tool because it has a spoolie on the back and it has that great angle on the front. So I'm starting with the darker shade. Anastasia's powders come in 2 tones. The darker color is meant to be used on places where the brow hair is a little bit sparser or where you need to fill in a little bit more. And that's where I like to start. So for my own brows, that's through the tail and really through my arch. So I'm starting there to help give me a nice shape. And I recommend starting with the tail of the brow first because if you start in the very, very front, you can get kind of angry brows and look like you're a little upset. And I'm just using really light upward strokes, and I just follow the direction my hair grows in. So the other reason I picked a powder is I'm going to go a little bit bolder in the eye, and I want to have a clear focus. So sometimes if you have a really bold brow and a really bold eye and like a really bold lip, it can start to feel like you've just lost direction and there's too much going on and there's too much party. But since I want my eyes to be the party, I'm going to keep the brows a little bit softer and they're going to be more of a backup dancer as opposed to the star of the show. As I'm getting into the front of the brow, I'm switching to the lighter brow color in the Brow Duo, and I'm just brushing really lightly upward, and I actually like to take my angle brush on the side, and I just like to kind of fluff upwards. I really love that texture in the front of the brow, and I like when they look a little bit bushier and a little bit fuller. So I'm just lifting straight up to create that texture in the front. Next, I'm going to use Benefit's Gimme Brow, and I'm using shade number 1. And this is an amazing product. It is a brow gel that has little baby teeny tiny fibers in it, and you can see that the wand is super, super small. It is amazing because you can use it over a powder or over a pencil, but it just creates a little extra dimension and a little extra volume. And it's kind of like hairspray for your eyebrows. It helps to hold them in place and keeps them exactly where you put them. And I'm just working this in. I love brow gel, so I tend to get a little meticulous when I use it, but I like to use it just to really position the hairs exactly where I want them to sit so my brows are just perfectly lifted. Next, I'm going to use Urban Decay's Eyeshadow Primer Potion and Anti-Aging. I feel like you can never go wrong by using anti-aging products too early, and I put this on every single day, and this helps keep the shadow and eyeliner in place all day or all night long, depending on how you live your life. So next we're going to get started with this eye, and I'm using the Huda Beauty Textured Shadows palette in the Rose Gold edition to create this look. And I'm starting with the shade called Bay with my number 15 small shadow brush. I'm taking this and I'm just patting this soft neutral all over my lid. And the reason I'm using this tool is because I really want to pack this shade on. The other reason I'm doing this before anything else too is this helps to even out my lid. It helps to get rid of any colors or discoloration that I have on my lid, since you can see veins and sometimes my lids get a little bit darker. And it also makes the blending a little bit easier that I'm going to do later on. And I'm just putting this from lid clear up to brow bone. Next, I'm using my Pro Tapered Crease Brush number 19 with the shade called Sandalwood. And this, I'm just starting to kind of contour and sculpt the shape of my lid. So a really great tip with this too is with this particular brush, you want to just take a little bit at a time to kind of sketch out where you want things to be placed. So taking just a slight tap into the shadow is a great tip, as opposed to really digging it in there and picking up too much color. So just a small tap. And I'm starting in the outer corner and working my way in towards the center of my eye. The reason I'm starting in the outside corner is just because I want that to be where the most depth is, and I want it to kind of soften as it goes inwards. Also, my brows sit a little bit lower, and I really like my eyes to look open and like I got a lot of sleep the night before, and this helps to make sure that I don't close off the shape of my eyes. So I'm using the shade Flamingo inside that Huda Beauty palette, and I'm using that shade with the Pro Tapered Crease Brush, number 19. And I'm just tapping this in slightly into the shadow just to add a little bit of color. So the other reason why I'm using this pink shade in this step is this is going to create some blending room later on when I start to go in with those bolder, more intense shades. And since we're doing a bold eye look, I'm going to start with the softer colors and gradually work my way up to the deeper shades. So I'm just sketching this into the crease. So where I put that color Sandalwood before, I'm bringing this into the outer corner of my eye, but also up through my crease. So next, I'm going to use the shades Bossy, Maneater, and Black Truffle. And I'm going to place these colors on my lid. The reason I'm mixing in Bossy and Maneater with that deep, rich black is because this is going to create dimension, and it almost creates like a black cherry effect where you just kind of catch the pink and purple in the right light. It also helps to cut through the black. So if that shadow makes you really nervous, it's a way to soften and lessen the intensity. And I'm using the Pro Small Shadow number 15 brush because I just want to pack this color on across my lids, and this is going to keep it from falling out onto my complexion. The other great tip with Pro Small Shadow number 15 is the curve of the bristles really helps fit with the curve of the inner corner of the eye, and it helps me to create that shape. So it's a great tool for an eye look like this. So after I've placed those colors on across my lid, I'm going back in with my number 19 Pro Tapered Crease Brush, and I'm just softening any edges. I really like to keep eye looks pretty even while they're going on, and this helps me to not over blend later on, but it helps me to take away any harsh spots. But whenever I finish an eye look, whether it is really natural or bold like this, I always go back in with a neutral matte color. So I'm going back in with that shade Bay, and I'm using that Pro Tapered Crease Brush number 19. And what I like to do is I like to go right up along my brow bone and blend away any harsh lines. So next, I'm going to go in and do a little concealing. So this is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Invisible Cover Concealer. And this is actually one of the corrector shades in R32. And I'm just taking a little teeny size amount, probably the size of a pinhead. And I'm just placing this where I have the darkest part of my under eye circle. With bold eye looks, especially if they have purple or green or blue, it's super important to make sure that under eye bag, if you have them like I do, is really well concealed, because otherwise it can look like you have a really dark circle or like you're a zombie. And I'm just using the Sephora Pro Concealer number 71 brush. This is a newer brush. I'm obsessed with it because you can tap and stipple and build coverage, but also use the flat part of it to help smooth and soften. Other thing too is I like to take this concealer, and I also, if I notice any shadows from post-acne marks peeking through my foundation, I'll just press a little bit on top to help eliminate any shadows coming through. And now that I've corrected, I'm gonna go back in with a concealer, and this is the Kat Von D Lock-It Concealer. And I'm using shade L5 Neutral. And I'm just taking a little bit on the back of my hand, and I'm using a beauty blender to apply this. So I'm just pressing this right up close, right under my lashes. And then I'm using my fingertip to just blend right along where my shadow is so it doesn't look like I have a harsh line from the concealer. I'm also just taking a little bit of this down the bridge of my nose and on my Cupid's bow to give me a little bit of a natural highlight. In any places I feel like I need a little extra coverage, I'm just going back in and doing a tapping and pressing motion to build coverage. So next, I'm taking the Smashbox Always On Gel Liner in Fishnet. I'm obsessed with this. Eyeliner is a struggle for me, and it's very hard for me to find things that I don't water through or that don't rub off. And I'm just wiggling this right across my waterline. Next, I'm going to take a little bit of Maneater, and I'm using the Pro Shader number 18, and I'm starting to wiggle a little bit of the shadow underneath my lash line. This is going to help to diffuse and kind of soften that liner so it doesn't look as harsh and it starts to look a little bit more blended back into the rest of my face. So once again, I'm just going right back on top of my waterline with that black eyeliner pencil, and I'm just wiggling right between the lashes. And the great thing about this is too, if you're not perfect at applying eyeliner, it's all good because you're going to smoke it out and soften it with a little bit of shadow. Next, I'm going to take a little bit of Better Than Sex Waterproof Mascara from Too Faced. I love this mascara because I live in Kansas where it's super humid and hot, and I sweat off everything and everything melts off my face. This mascara will not. It will stay on all day long, all night long, till the next morning, but you should take your makeup off. So I'm just adding a little bit across my top lashes, and I'm adding a lot to my lower lashes. I like the way that lower lash mascara makes it look more worn in and a little bit smokier. Next, I'm gonna apply a little bit of liquid liner to my top lashes, and I'm using Kat Von D Tattoo Liner in Trooper. And a really great tip, I love to take a beauty blender, the same one that I used earlier, and I like to use it to help stretch out my lid. That way I don't get fingerprints later on. It just helps me to help keep that skin nice and taut, but I don't disrupt any of the makeup that I previously applied. Now my favorite part, because I love all things unicorn, and this is unicorn in a bottle. So this is the Stila Magnificent Metals Glitter and Glow Liquid Eyeshadow in the shade Sea Siren. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm taking the applicator, and I'm just gonna tap the slightest amount on my inner corner. A little bit of this goes a long way, and I just want it to have like a little wash of iridescence. And I'm just slightly pulling it up into my lid, but I'm gonna use my number 18 Pro Shader. You could also use your fingertip for this too, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. I like to use both. And I'm just blending the edges of this into the rest of the shadow. So again, I just placed that Stila shadow on my inner corner, and using my Pro Shader number 18 brush and my fingertip, I'm just stretching and blending this into the rest of my shadow. And if you blend it too much, it's all good. You can go back in and add a little bit more back on. So now that I have that glitter on there, I just want to make it a little bit smokier and a little more intense just to balance it out on the bottom. So I'm using that shade Cocoa with my Pro Shader number 18, and I'm just wiggling a little bit more shadow back underneath my lash line. All right, so now that I'm mostly finished with the eyes, I'm gonna move on to the rest of my complexion. So using Kat Von D's Shade and Light palette, and I'm actually gonna use the 2 deeper contour shades in Shadow Play and Somber with the Sephora Collection Pro Highlight number 98 brush. So I'm starting with a little bit of that contour shade back by my ear, and then really lightly, I'm going one direction and pulling that shade down to give me that lifted effect. And next what I'm doing is I'm taking that same shade and I'm lifting up. Think of a push-up bra for your face. That's what this is doing. It's just helping to lift that cheekbone up so it looks more lifted and sculpted. So next I'm gonna take the same shades and I'm just gonna do a little bit on the corners of my jawline. I really like to eat fried chicken, so this makes it look like I don't like to eat it as often. So now that my contour is all set, I'm gonna move on to the Tarte Park Avenue Princess Amazonian Clay Matte Waterproof Bronzer. So because we're going out and it's Saturday night, this is not going anywhere, even if you get a little hot or a little sweaty because it's waterproof. So I'm just taking a little bit with my Pro Precision Powder number 59 brush, and I actually really like to tap on bronzer because it creates a softer effect, and I feel like it helps me keep the color a little more concentrated. When I tend to sweep on bronzer, it tends to get a little crazy, and I like to keep it a little bit more controlled. So I also just took a little bit and put a little wash of it along my chin and my jawline just to give it some continuity and make it look all really, really even. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of blush, and I'm using California by Benefit. And I really love blush because this is where I really feel like it pulls everything together. So the eyes are the focus, but the blush helps give it a little bit of balance, and it's not going to distract from the eye. It's just going to tie some of the colors in together with the Pro Precision Powder number 59 brush again. And I'm just starting on the apple of my cheek and working backwards so it creates a more lifted effect with my blush. So next I'm going to use a little bit of Makeup Forever Pro Light Fusion highlighter in shade number 1, and I'm still using that Sephora Collection Pro Highlight number 98 brush, and I'm just taking a little bit up on my cheekbones. I'm going to do a little bit down the bridge of my nose, and I like to apply a little bit to my Cupid's bow, and usually I'll do that with my fingertip if I feel like I don't have enough intensity. I'm taking a little bit of Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder, and I'm actually just using what's in the lid on that number 19 Pro Tapered Crease Brush. This is a great tool to set your makeup with as well as blend out shadows, and I'm just taking a little bit right under my under eye. And since my skin is a little bit drier, less is more. Taking a lot of powder under there tends to make me look really, really old, and that's not what I want. I'm also just taking a little bit in between my brows, around the sides of my nose, and right around my mouth, just because those are areas of the face that get a little bit more wear and they're hot spots, and I want to make sure that they stay smooth and pretty throughout the evening. Next, I'm going to use Makeup Forever Aqua Lip Liner in the shade 22C. And a great tip, that's an obvious one, but make sure your pencil's really, really sharp because that's going to give you the most well-aligned lip. And personally, I like to overdraw my lips a little bit. I like to look a little bit poutier, but I'm just starting in my Cupid's bow. And then from the outer corner, I'm drawing up because I want to make my lips look really full and voluminous. So drawing them upwards is going to create more volume in the lip. If you wanted to make your lips look a little bit more petite though, you could start from the Cupid's bow and go down, and it'll make them look a little bit smaller. Next, what I'm going to do is from the middle of my bottom lip, I'm going to start there and I'm going to work up and out to again create some volume in my lower lip. And once I've done the entire outline, a lot of times I will take the lip pencil and fill my whole lip in. This just creates some insurance. So if the lipstick or the lip stain I put on later wears off, I've got a little something to peek through. Next, I'm going to use the Marc Jacobs Le Marc Liquid Lip Cream Rouge and the shade Fawn Over Me. This is one of my favorite products. I wear this all the time. It's one of my go-tos, and it's always in my purse. I love the Marc Jacobs cream lip stains because they're super velvety and soft, and they don't make your lips look cracked or like they have any texture. They just make them look really super smooth. And so I'm just smoothing this out across my lip. One of my favorite parts, the cherry on top with the lashes. I'm using the Sephora Collection Flare Luxe False Lashes, and I'm just going to trim a little bit off of the outer corners. And next I'm going to take the House of Lashes eyelash adhesive, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue to each lash. Another tip too is I like to take a cotton bud if I get a little too much glue, and I'll just tap it off. The other thing that I tend to do is I will slice a cotton bud at an angle. I'll cut it in half, and I will use it to help push the lashes on. So if I feel like there's a spot that's lifting or doesn't feel like it's quite adhered well enough, I'll just use that sharp point just to press down on the lash. And that way, if I get any glue or any product on it, I can just throw it away when I'm done. And I love these because they're super lightweight and really comfortable, but they also still look like they could be my real lashes. So now that all of my makeup is on and intact, I'm going back in with that Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Marine Boosting Mist just to lock in that makeup. So can't forget about the hair because that's important too, and that's like the finishing touch. So I'm just taking a little bit of Detox Dry Shampoo from Dry Bar. I only wash my hair once a week, and that is a Sunday activity. So if it's Saturday night, I'm dry shampooing. And I just like to mist this through my ends, up through my roots, and I just like to kind of zhuzh it with my fingertips just to make sure I work it into my hair. All right, also, I wear a lot of black, and mistakes happen to the best of us, right? So if you get a little bit of dry shampoo or powder on your shirt, you can always grab a makeup removing wipe and tap right on top of wherever it goes, and it will instantly remove it. So for fragrance, I'm gonna use YSL L'Homme Ultime. And I just like to take a little bit, I like to actually do it on the back of my neck. Fragrance works best in places that you emit heat. And so since my hair is always down, I like to put a little bit on the back of the neck because that way if somebody hugs me, I smell really nice. This is one of my favorite fragrances, and it's actually for men, but fragrance is universal and you can totally rock it whether you are a girl or boy. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed watching me create this look. Please like and subscribe to our Sephora channel for more videos to come. And in the comment section, let us know what videos you'd like to continue to see. If you're ever in Kansas City, please come say hello too. I travel between all 5 stores, so you might see some blonde hair and some iridescent mermaid makeup floating around somewhere. We'll see you soon.